Welcome in the Fury Warrior PvP guide for Dragonflight. If you want to make Bloodbath in your enemy's ranks and lead the charge in battle, you're in the right place. Enjoy. Okay guys, let's take a look at the overall warrior talent tree of choice. So first let's start with the left side. Berserker Rage stance is actually by default impending victory, one of the greatest talents for our survivability. It's only 25-second cooldown and we heal for 30% of our maximum health. This is basically one of our bread and butter survivability skill for healing, and with that it gets reset when we get a killing blow, so nice to have. Berserker Rage is a fear immunity, so must have. In here we take Piercing Howl just to have that extra slow that had some more range when some kind of rogue or hunter tries to basically run away from us. We can just use it to not waste the gap closer. This is a 70% movement speed reduced, so usually we will be able to get to the target as well. Fast footwork, movement speed increased by 5%. Pretty self-explanatory. Rampage for the Berserker. Rampage has 20% chance to immediately refund 20% rage spent, so this helps us to actually build more of those rampages back to back. And here Shattering Throw. Wrecking Throw is actually pretty good, but Shattering Throw is just better for those paladins and mages to remove those immunities. Pain and Gain, a very nice automatic heal every 10 seconds, or more increased by 20% reinforced plates, so adds up nicely to our survivability. And here we take, of course, Armor to the Teeth, gain strength equal to 10% of your armor, so more AP for us. Avatar, pretty self-explanatory. Our offensive cooldown not only increases our damage but also removes all roots and snares, so good when we are CC'd. And here we take Titan's Torment, so activating Avatar casts Odin's Fury, and activating Odin's Fury casts Avatar reduces effectiveness. This is nice because, we don't have to spend all of our cooldowns at once, and when we actually activate the full Avatar, we basically cast that Odin's Fury, so it nicely adds up to our DPS. The Military War Machine is a good one, and it's pretty much needed anyway to take the Spare Reflection, which is our bread and butter for casters. In here we of course take Heroic Leap to improve mobility, and Intimidating Shout, a very nice cooldown. When we know grouped up enemies, we can CC them off the target of your healer or just off yourself to gain some breathing room. Bounding Stride, so improves our Heroic Leap, reduces its cooldown, and also gives us some movement speed for 3 seconds after leaping. And Bitter Immunity, this 20% health heal is not that great on 3-minute cooldown, but when we take into consideration that it also removes all diseases, poisons and curses, it actually makes sense, because we see a lot of DKs, rogues, and warlocks, so all this stuff adds up nicely to not only heal yourself but also to reduce that incoming burst damage. Double Time improves our charges, its cooldown, and gives us one additional charge actually, so charge on charges basically. More mobility for us, dual wield specialization, so more damage. And in here we take Wild Strikes, haste increase, and auto attack. Critical strike increase your auto attack speed by additional 20%, so very nice. And here Thunderous Roar basically deals some nice damage, and on top of that applies a very heavy bleeding. And in here we take both of the talents, so one increases the duration of the bleed effect by 2 seconds, and also increases the damage of all your bleed effects at all times by 15%. And also we're gonna have a Gushing Wound from the Fury Tree, so both of those bleeds are increased, so that's why it's a nice talent for it. And Uproar, just basically we take it because we have no other significant options otherwise, so we just use the cooldown of the Thunderous Roar. And next up we go to the right side, defensive stance. Very nice. Usually you will be spending most of the time in your Berserker Rage, but Berserker stance but it's nice for things like rogues or ferals when you see they're gonna open on you, or you know, just in those tight situations when you need that additional damage reduction. And this is also good because it's of global cooldown, so if you do remember about this, you can just, you know, pop it for a couple of seconds. It does have 3-second cooldown when you use it, so after those 3 seconds you can go back again to your offensive stance and, you know, pump that damage. So nice to have that actual stance dance again. Rallying Cry, just, you know, a cooldown that increases our health by 50% temporarily, so nice survivability. Leeching Strikes, I take it 5%. If you can take Second Wind if you like, so if you don't take any damage by 5 seconds, you will heal by 6% every 1 second. This is good off combat, you know, when for leveling and stuff like that, but you know, in PvP, sometimes you do get CC'd and stuff like that, you can start healing yourself, but usually the leech is better, basically, especially we do deal some heavy damage, so it's nice to have that additional heal. Furious Blows, attack speed increase, Thought Storm Bolt, our bread and butter stun, and here we take sidearm, so more damage from our auto attacks from time to time. Then let's switch to the Fury Tree. We of course start with Bloodthirst, our bread and butter spell in this spec. We take Raging Blow, but it's not really that significant because it will be replaced by Annahilator, so we're gonna go for the right side very quickly. We take Improved Execute, so it no longer costs rage and now generates 20 rage. We take Sudden Death, your attacks have a chance to reset the cooldown of Execute and make it usable on any target regardless of their health. Honestly, Execute is not that powerful on the Fury usually. Even on low health you want to spam that Bloodthirst because it's going to be pumped below 35% health. So Execute is a nice filler. Usually it deals more damage when it's not powered up by the other talent, this one, Reckless Abandon, which basically turns your Bloodthirst into Bloodbath. So usually when you have normal Bloodthirst you want to use that Sudden Death procs, and when it's Bloodbath just always go for those Bloodbaths. They are just plain better, and we're going to explain that soon. And here you take Cruelty while Enraged. Raging Blow deals 50% increased damage and Annihilator deals 10% increased damage. There will be lots of stuff about Annihilator, so maybe I will show you first. This basically replaces our Raging Blow, and every auto attack deals additional 1000 physical damage to generate 4 rage. This is good because we basically get rid of one of our DPS buttons into auto attack. Similar to like not Death Knights, the oh my god, I forgot, Demon Hunters. Sorry. Yeah, they also have such a similar talent, and it just smoothens the playstyle, and we can focus instead of just pumping up both Raging Blow and Bloodthirst, we just focus on that Bloodthirst damage with some extra bleeds, and then you know, the auto attack will replace Raging Blow basically. So now it just smoothens the gameplay. Right, so just basically increases our annihilated damage. In here, of course, next row we take Improved Enrage. It increases our haste and movement speed. Enrage Generation, our defensive cooldown, basically reduces damage taken by 30%, and our Bloodthirst restores an additional 20% health, literally 20%. So 5 Bloodthirst back to back, and you are back to full health. Improved Execute, so we covered that. Here it takes Sudden Death, of course, Invigorating Fury. Enraged Region lasts 3 seconds longer and instantly heals for 20% of your maximum health, so it just improves our death cooldown. And War Paint, you take, in PvP you take 5% reduced damage while Enrage is active, so 5%, not really that significant, but you know, always adds up, especially when you also put on the defensive stance on, then you know, it nicely stacks and reduces that damage nicely. So, and you don't really have that much better any choices to take, so War Paint is good to go. Improved Bloodthirst, so just 10% increased damage. Focus in Chaos while enraged, your attacks can no longer miss. So this is not really that great. I'm not 100% sure if this actually works for against the rogues. with evasion. Maybe somebody can tell in the comment section below. Didn't really check it yet, but that is possible, because other than that I wouldn't see this talent to have any sense in PvP at the current state of WoW. So yeah, this is actually still to be explained. Cold Steel, Hot Blood, Bloodthirst, critical strikes generate 4 additional rage and inflict a gushing wound that leaches 10,000 health over 6 seconds. Our basically standard Bloodthirst hits for 7,000 and it's physical, so reduced by armor, so usually it's around 5k hit. So this bleeding is pretty insane, honestly, and especially that it's increased by all the modifiers, and when you start getting those crits and, you know, increased by avatar, the bleed is actually leeches the health, so it also heals you on top of that. So in AoE situations it can really get crazy, but in even single target, the healing from the Bloodthirst, the healing from the gushing wound, the healing from the leech, the healing from the other talent that, you know, every 10 seconds heals you, the healing is insane, honestly, on the Fury Wall. That's why it's so good, because the damage is easy actually to deal, and we have a lot of passive healing and on-demand healing if we need to. So that's why the spec is so good, especially in BG, you know, when you are fighting many random players at the same time. But let's carry on. Vicious Contempt. Bloodthirst deals 50% increased damage to enemies who are below 35% health, so that's why it's important. That's why I said that spamming Bloodthirst or Bloodbath is usually better below 35% than actually using Execute. So, you know, Execute is not that pumped as an arms, so this talent is pretty important, especially when powered up by those Bloodbath. So that's cool. Bloodborne, bleed damage of Odin's Fury, Thunderous Roar, and Gushing Wound increased by 20%, or our bleeding basically. And Bloodthirst increases the critical strength of your next Bloodthirst by 15%, stacking up to 5 times. Of course, when we get a crit, it resets, so we don't really, thanks to this talent, we don't really have to stack any crit on gear. We can just go full haste and mastery, and then this allows us to crit with the Bloodthirst and gets those gushing wounds rolling. Depth experience, mastery increased by 2%, and Bloodthirst cooldown reduced by 1.5 seconds. So basically the standard cooldown is 3 seconds, with a Bloodbath it's 1.5, so basically we can spam it, but only we have 2 charges, so we can use 2 Bloodbaths and 1 Bloodthirst back to back without even looking at your bars. So usually it looks like that you use your Rampage, Bloodbath, Bloodbath, Bloodthirst, so basically 1 button 3 times, and then you can Rampage again. So that's our basic rotation, 2 buttons. But yeah, of course you get also the cooldowns and stuff like that, so but it's very fun to play, honestly. And Storms of Swords, Whirlwind has 7-second cooldown but deals 70% increased damage, and this is good because it adds that extra button in case we don't have anything to use in the start of battle when we don't get those rampages rolling yet. So this just adds some extra button to press in times of need, but usually the damage is even lower than the actual Bloodthirst, so we use it only if we don't have anything else to use. And Annahilator, we explained this earlier. In here we of course take Rampage, our bread and butter in this spec, our spender of rage, and Frenzy. Rampage increases your haste by 2% for 12 seconds, stacking up to 4 times, so 8% haste buff. This effect is reset if you Rampage a different primary target, so when you switch targets, this resets to 0 and we have to start over. But overall on single targets, especially when focusing healer, this is a very good talent. Slaughtering Strikes. Basically, Annahilator causes every strike of your next Rampage to deal an additional 2% damage, stacking up to 5. This can be easily stacked up, so basically increases our Rampage talent damage by 10% with our auto attacks while ramping up the rage. But honestly, 10% damage increase, it's not that significant. Actually, in this point, I would consider, if you really want to have some AoE passive damage without cooldowns, I would consider taking out Slaughtering Strikes and take the improved Whirlwind. Then basically every time we Whirlwind, we have next our next 2 single target damaging attacks also strike nearby enemies for 50% damage. So this is a nice passive cleave, especially good for BGs, but you know, usually there's many healers and stuff like that, so I just want to focus on them. And you know, using those whirlwinds back to back from time to time just lowers your overall DPS. Well, overall DPS may be increased, but you know, the pressure on the healers is a little bit lesser. So I usually stand still with Soldering Strikes, but if you like having some AoE pressure, then definitely drop this and take Improved Whirlwind. Then we of course take Recklessness, which increases our crit chance by 20% for 12 seconds, and Rage Regen. This also works very well with haste usage. I'm gonna go away a little bit further because they're shooting somewhere in the background. Yeah, that's all another thing. That's why this build works well with haste and mastery without any crit, because this is another source of crit for this spec. Swift Strike increases haste by 20%, Raging Blow generates an additional 2 rage, and Annihilator generates an additional 2 rage, so more rage generation basically with auto attacks. And our Annihilators in here, Reckless Abandon. Recklessness generates 50 rage, and Rampage greatly empowers your next 2 Bloodthirst or Raging Blows. So this is great because yeah, Bloodbath is to empower Bloodthirst, basically a Bloodbath, which reduces the cooldown and also increases our damage by like 30% or something like that. It's more powerful definitely, and also Recklessness generates 50 rage, so we can burst straight away. We just pop Recklessness and we can go all in after the charge, so that's good. And also we have this talent, Unbridled Ferocity. Rampage has 20% chance to grant Recklessness for 4 seconds, so basically every time this procs we can get like almost back to back 2 rampages one after another. We just need to use like 1 Bloodbath in the middle because you know it generates 50 rage, so very very nice for rage generation. Okay, that will be it for talents, and let's take a look at the gear. Right guys, as for the gear, let's go and start attacking this guy, so the stats are gonna show properly. So we've got 5% crit chance, 27% haste, and 22% mastery. Of course, versatility is an overall slot for on every PvP gear, so we don't really count it. And leech 5%, this is from talents. But yeah, basically we just want to have that haste pumped as much as possible. So every piece we can have, just take haste, and those pieces that don't have haste, just take mastery, and that's it basically. Mastery increases all down damage done while in rage. We are constantly in rage basically, except for while like CC'd and stuff like that, but it doesn't matter, we cannot still deal damage at this point. So yeah, all the way haste because of that auto attack damage, speed and rage generation increase thanks to that, and you know, global cooldowns is even better. You know, this spec is played so fast that it just feels so smooth, so good, that it's a joy to play, honestly, especially when those cooldowns start rolling and the damage is going crazy. Yeah, so with the gear out of the way, let's get into the preview. Alright guys, so like I said, the damage dealing process is very very easy. When we start fire, we just go with charge, then Bloodthirst, some Whirlwind, Bloodthirst, execute, then we have Rampage, and then you see you have Bloodbath, 20,000 damage, Bloodthirst is 14, so basically we use like those 3 spells. We can use Rampage, and then once again Bloodbath, Bloodbath, Rampage, Bloodbath, Bloodbath, Bloodthirst, Rampage. Usually Bloodbath is considered more damage than even a Rampage, so always use 2 stacks of Rampage, of Bloodbath, and then go for Rampage, unless you are on the healer and you want to stack your Slaughterhouse. Oh yeah, because I forgot about the PvP talents. You want to have Slaughterhouse all the time. Rampage damage reduces the healing the target receives by 50% for 12 seconds, stacking up to 12 times. The stack application does not refresh the duration. So basically when we start pumping those rampages we have to use them back to back to stack it up to full basically. So that's why then it's important to spam those rampages. Other than that, I like to have Blood Rage. In cost of health, 5% health, you are basically removes all the snares and roots from yourself. So this is great. Only 20-second cooldown, and you know, frost mages, druids, hunters, almost everybody have some kind of root. And you know, mobility is not really our like issue, but roots are. So it's good to have this spell, honestly. And the third slot is usually a War Between Warbringer. This is like a very nice overall spell because it roots for 2 seconds, so basically helps us keeping those fast targets in place. And on top of that, it deals damage, and a lot of damage. 23,000 is no joke in PvP, so that's great. And it deals AoE damage on top of that, in cone behind your target. But yeah, for like heavy melee environments, I like to take just disarm, and then you know it helps with fighting those rogues, death knights, other warriors, you know, all the other kind of stuff that has weapons. So you know, helps us loosen the pressure a little bit. But usually we do have a lot of survivability against melee thanks to like enraged region, all the passive healing we get, so I don't really bother that much with it. But like I said, heavy like arena stuff like that, disarm, good thing to take, especially when you want to save your partner, not yourself, so that's even better. But otherwise I usually just take Warbringer, so those 3 talents. So yeah, the rotation, like we said, rampage, and just spam Bloodthirst until you have another rampage, and use rampage, and that's it. Execute, like I said, not really worth using unless you use your Bloodbaths below 35%. Then yeah, execute deals like 90k and Bloodthirst deals like 13k. So yeah, this is a difference, but only when you know, you don't have procs, because with the procs, Bloodbath, yeah, 41k crits, so that's pretty insane. And yeah, that looks like a standard rotation, nothing really difficult. But when we want to actually burst, then let's imagine I don't have any rage. You charge in, use Recklessness, Odin's Fury, and then you start rolling 2 rampages with Bloodbaths, and then you go into Avatar. Basically what it does is our Odin's Fury will pop Avatar for 4 seconds, and during those 4 seconds we will be able to do a rampage, 2 Bloodbaths and rampage, and then go into another Avatar and, you know, refill our rage bar again for another rampage. So this builds up healing stacks reduction pretty fast, and it's a lot of burst damage. So let's take a look. So you charge in, Recklessness, Odin's Fury, Rampage, Bloodbath, Rampage, then Avatar, Thunderous Roar, Rampage, Bloodbath, Rampage, and you carry on with it. Bloodbath. You can see the numbers yourself. But yeah, that's how I usually burst down. If you know, I see that if you see that the target knows what he's doing, and you know, will not pop all the cooldowns all at once, or will save his cooldowns, or you know, not gonna die that easily, then usually I use my Recklessness with Odin's Fury and then follow it up with Thunderous Roar, then go with my rotation without using the Avatar. Then I save Avatar after the cooldowns, and yeah, usually this helps me kill targets very easily. But if you just want to go all in, then like I said, you go in, you get Odin's Fury, Recklessness, Odin's Fury, then 1 rotation with Rampage, Bloodbath, Rampage, and then Avatar, Thunderous Roar, and then Rampage, and you know, standard rotation. That's basically it. For survivability, like I said, use early as possible the impending victory, 100k healing, so that's a lot. You also have bitter immunity. In perfect scenario, you'd want to use this with Rallying Cry, because this increases our overall health. So then when you use your healing, 80k Bloodthirst heals us for nothing because we would have to lose health to actually show this to you. But yeah, also heals us for like 50% of your health, so that's quite a lot. Yeah, because in PvP this talent is actually reduced. It says 20%, but in PvP it's a little bit lesser. But it's still good, honestly. And we also get some healing from our leech, as you can see, every time we deal damage. It shows, I think. Maybe not. No, it doesn't show the leech, but yeah, 5% of the damage dealt is converted into the health healing, and we also have pain and gain, so 5% heal every time, every 10 seconds when you take damage. Also very nice. So yeah, the playstyle is very easy, but the class, the specialization feels so smooth, so nice when you start popping this damage. And also, I didn't show it to you actually, I forgot, the Odin's Fury. We take it and we also follow it up by Titanic Rage. I take Titanic Rage because this is like my only AoE damaging ability we can have, and even if you don't have this talent, it will still apply 2 stacks of Whirlwind. So my next Rampage and Bloodbath will actually heal, hit those other people around, as well as Odin's Fury. So all that damage from Odin's Fury, Recklessness Odin's Fury, is going to hit AoE, and then my 2 next attacks will also hit AoE. So even we don't really have that cleave while bursting, it's pretty important to convert that big damage into massive cleave. So that's why I like to use, because for pure single target you want to take Dancing Blades, because it increases auto attack damage and speed by 30% for 10 seconds, so that's quite significant. Especially that you can use back to back with like Odin's Fury and then Avatar. But yeah, without having any cleave, I like to take this one. If you actually sacrifice Slaughtering Strikes for improved Whirlwind, then I would also drop Titanic Rage and get Dancing Blades. So that's like my last tip I have for you, any warriors out there. So go out and make your enemies bleed to death with your Odin's Fury and Avatars. Right guys, so thank you for today. If you want to see the Fury Warrior in action before trying out your own, check out the video you see on the screen right now, and thank you for watching. Cheers.